Westfield Memorial Hospital provides high-quality health care to residents of Western New York, offering patients the most sophisticated medical advancements while keeping the ease and familiarity of a community hospital. Support for Chautauqua Sunrise has been provided by WRFA 107.9 FM, Jamestown's public radio station, streaming online 24/7 at WRFALP.com. Low power to the people. Chautauqua Sunrise is made possible by a grant from Fredonia Place, a continuing care retirement community providing dignity in a modern luxury environment. Meter's Restaurant, a family tradition for over 50 years in downtown Ripley, is a proud supporter of Chautauqua Sunrise. Meter's provides all-day dining, banquet services, and custom catering, specializing in pie. Funding for Chautauqua Sunrise is provided in part by the Chautauqua County Industrial Development Agency, with offices in Jamestown and Dunkirk, helping businesses to prosper throughout Chautauqua County. From supporting people with disabilities to enjoy great lives, to providing health care services that are available to anyone, the Resource Center has been improving our county for more than 60 years. Learn more about how the Resource Center makes a positive difference in people's lives. From the Access Chautauqua Studios in Mayville, it's Chautauqua Sunrise. Chautauqua Sunrise is hosted by Doc Hamels and supported by the award-winning volunteers at Access Chautauqua. We are here to share local news, colorful interviews, and events of interest to everyone. Chautauqua Sunrise is broadcast live Saturday mornings each week from 9 to 10 a.m. Send events via email or call us live. Check us out on YouTube and Facebook. And now, from the Access Chautauqua Studios, it's Chautauqua Sunrise.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Doc Hamels, and welcome to another edition of Chautauqua Sunrise. Hope you're all doing well. Hey, Justin, it's wetter weather. Can you say that 5 times fast? Go ahead, I'll wait.
No.
Sweater weather. Snow is in the forecast from what I understand, so I guess it's finally that time of year. For those of you that have been hoping for snow, congratulations, it's on its way. I guess we're just supposed to get a little bit, but that's all right. We've had some really phenomenal weather up till now, and I don't know if you're dealing with ticks like we are in our part of the world, but I wish that it gets really cold quick and puts them to bed for the year, because all the dogs keep coming in with these little buggers on their head I gotta pull off. You got ticks out your way? Woo! Everybody, I think, does. Anyways, good morning throughout the world. We're streaming live. Good morning, Europe. Good morning across over the United States, down into Florida, over into Michigan. For those of you that are watching across the county, hello, good afternoon to the folks listening on WRFA 107.9, Low Power to the People. Good afternoon on Tuesdays at 1 o'clock. Thanks for joining us. We've got a really fun show in store for you. We've got Michelle Henry, who's waiting in the wings to join us. Always has fascinating little factoids about Chautauqua County and history and stuff like that. We're going to have a good time talking. And I have a little piece that I've developed as well for the show under that category. Hey, this is a live show right now, and if you would like to call in, you can give us a call at 716-753-5225. If you are shy and you have an announcement you want to share, which I get throughout the week, by the way, you can send it to Chautauqua Sunrise, that's all one word, at gmail.com. Again, Chautauqua Sunrise at gmail.com. We are happy to share your events, your fundraisers. If you have an anniversary or birthday, you want to wish somebody whatever, give us a call. All right, if you are still willing to call but you don't want to talk to me live, I get it. Sometimes you don't want to hear yourself on TV. Go ahead and call in, and usually Randy's on the other end of the line. He'll write it all down, and we do that from time to time. You don't realize that the shot changes to one of my guests, and then my trusty assistant Justin hands me this off screen, and I got the announcement. So we do the magic of TV here. Okay, so anyways, please send us your announcements. We're happy to share. All right. Every week you hear me say this, and I keep saying it until, I don't know, I'll probably just keep on saying it. Music, entertainment, events, Christmas stuff. Soon as Halloween ended in whatever it was, October 31st at midnight, ting, all the Christmas commercials started hitting the airwaves. Music came on. I even watched a Christmas show myself the other night. I don't usually do that. But it's here. And we're in that season, so there's lots of things going on. You know, it's kind of fun. I don't want to say it's like a Hallmark Christmas, but it's getting close to that around here. Lots of people are having parades that we're going to talk about in a bit, in Christmas markets and Christmas showcases and just all kinds of fun things. So just real quick, check out your local venues throughout the holiday weekends especially, live music. For instance, tonight, my band that I'm in, the Midnight Growlers, will be at the Big Inlet from 5:30 to 8:30. And there's music there like all weekend. And you go to other places. And there's a gal named Sue Ottaway Porter. She's been doing something on Facebook. She lists where all the bands are throughout the week. So there's people that are covering the music scene here in Chautauqua County. And I know a lot of people are still trying to get out of that COVID mentality. Well, we're just about there. So get out, enjoy some music, get some good food, whatever. Speaking of COVID, what are they recommending out there? They're recommending getting a booster. I got my booster. We went to Europe. I wasn't taking any chances. So they're suggesting, just like you do a flu shot, get a booster for your COVID. If you want to, it's your call. They're saying to get your flu shot. That right now, I guess in Chautauqua County, the flu is, not just Chautauqua County, but Western New York. I think the flu is going around pretty heavy, so be careful of that. And this new thing, it seems like there's a new something or other every 6 months. I don't know what's going on with the little children, RSV. So there was a piece on the news today that I saw that young children are getting a respiratory issue. So please, if you have any concerns, get a hold of your doctor or whatever. And Justin is good. He tells me about Christmas as long as there's no fruitcake. Well, you know, the problem is you get fruitcake that's like 2 years old that's been in a tin in some warehouse. But if you got really good fruitcake, it's not too bad. My grandma always gave us fruitcake. Sorry if you like it out there, but right up there with canned okra. All right, I got a few things I want to share with you real quick before I get to my regular announcements. You guys are keeping me busy this week, and I'm loving it. All right, I found this out on the Facebook. Christmas in Ripley, my hometown, December 10th. I'm just going to give you some highlights. One of my underwriters, Meters, is going to have pancakes and egg breakfast special from 7 to 11:30 that day, December 10th. These are all the same day. Coffee on Main Street, specials from 7:30 to noon. The Ripley Library is going to have a vendor show 9 to 4, face painting there from 9:30 to 11:30. Noah's Ark store at the Presbyterian Church is going to be open that day from 10 to 12. Reason for the Season, a short movie at the Presbyterian Church from 10 to 12. Santa Parade lineup at 12 o'clock, and then they step off at 12:15. They have a route, but if you're interested, if you know Sheila Wright Dickey, you can give her a holler. She'll tell you more information, or if she's watching, she can send me more information, and we'll announce it next week. Alpacas at the fire hall. That's a new one. I had never considered that before. I know at my house, alpacas are really, well, we find them pretty cool. And that's going to be from 12:30 to 3. Face painting also at the fire hall after the library from 12:30 to 2. Santa at the fire hall from 1 to 4. Pet pictures from 3 to 4. I wonder if Brody'd like to get his picture with Santa. Cooney's Island Ice Cream opens at 1. Main Street Pizza, decorate a cookie from 1 to 4. The Mennonite Church Singers, Methodist Church, 6 p.m. Non-denominational candlelight service at the Methodist Church at 6:30. And I think that's all I have on that at the moment. There were other things. Let me double check here. There were a couple other things, but I think that's it for the moment. So we'll keep you posted, but if anybody from Ripley wants to update me on that, that'd be great. My buddy Jim Kurtz called me yesterday and was Very happy to share that the Chautauqua Hometown Heroes Veteran Memorial, and we've had them on the show here before, are going great guns. He wanted me to share with you just a little bit of data. So I said, well, I couldn't write as fast as he was talking because he was really excited about how well things are going. But they have the memorial by the cemetery in Mayville over 430. I got that right, I think. And there's a big, it's like a outdoor mausoleum, pavilion. Pavilion is a better word. And they have bricks there for everybody that people choose to buy a brick for that was in the service, military. And so he wanted me to share with you that they have, a total of 50 individuals involved with the Revolutionary War, 25 for the War of 1812, 107 from the Civil War. That number is going to grow because as people get to know about this project, because my guest today probably could tick off at least 300 just off the top of her head, I'll bet. There's 81 from World War I, 459 from World War II, only 27 from Korea. That seems awful low. Only 49 from Vietnam. Okay, and then modern warfare they refer to as, I think they have 18, and they've got just all kinds. They have some biographies of some veterans there as well. They recognize prisoners of war missing in action, buried in foreign cemeteries. He told me, remember last week I talked about the cemetery in Luxembourg. He told me that there was 10 guys, I believe they're men, from Chautauqua County that are in Luxembourg. I did not know that. They also signify in their killed in action or died in non-battle. So they have these different categories. So anyways, if you're interested, Chautauqua Hometown Heroes Veteran Memorial, they're still accepting donations of bricks, and you can contact them. I know they have their Facebook page, and they will help you out. Is the memorial only for people who passed? I think it's for anybody. Because it says modern warfare, and so I would say that anybody that's been a veteran, the family wants to recognize them, that they will allow you to have a little brick on the wall. So, anyways, check it out. So, Jim, good job, and your committee over there, great project. All right, this one is not here in Chautauqua County, but I just know this because I see pictures all the time on Facebook. People go up to this place called the Hofbrau House in Buffalo. It's sort of becoming one of those places to go to, a destination in the area, and it's fun to do. So last year we talked about this. I'm going to bring it up again for the next couple of weeks. They're having their Kindle Market or Christmas Market, and it's benefiting Feed More of Western New York. A certain amount of the proceeds go to help feed those in need, and that includes Chautauqua County. So I asked them to tell me what are they going to have there. Well, I've got a list of 25 different vendors, and I'll just kind of highlight some of them. One vendor is going to have authentic German items. I'm told that the items are coming from Germany itself, and seeing I was just there, I'm going to have to prove that when I see that to make sure it's from Germany. They're going to have Christmas biscuits, natural foods, wreaths and decor, stocking stuffers, woodcraft, specialty foods, glass and jewelry, engraved stainless steel, not sure what that is, wooden porch signs, homemade baked goods, jams and jellies, candles and soaps and all that sort of thing, Bavarian gnomes. We got 2 of them at our house from last year, a variety of glassworks, fabrics, wood products, hand-painted glass, pickles. I never was a big pickle person, but people love pickles. This is a new one. I've never heard of soy candles, kettle corn, fabrics and jewelry, and artisan pet treats, which always is a great gift at Christmas for your pet. And Mr. Brody likes his treats as well. Okay, so that's going to be the next 3. No, not the next 3. It's going to be the 3 weekends of December. So right after Thanksgiving, so the next 3 weekends in December. So that's going to be the Christmas market. So if something to do, I just share these things. All right, we got a bunch of other things I want to share real quick. And let's see, the first one is from Infinity. They just received a regrowth and capacity grant of $10,000 from the New York State Council of Arts. This grant will support the organization's marketing enhancement project as they continue their ongoing recovery from pandemic challenges. The responsive funding from the state is providing nearly 1,000 organizations with over $13 million in recovery support in this coming year as part of the historic grant, 90 million in grant making, and what's that, 150 million in multi-year capital support. This unprecedented funding continues our investment into the vital role that the arts contribute to the health of our economy, our communities, and our citizens, according to elected Governor Kathy Hochul. As we continue our comeback, we applaud the strength and innovation of arts organizations across the state and are all the better for their hard work and dedication. And finally, Shane Hawkins, our good friend, the Infinity Executive Directors, adds, this grant from the state is so appreciated and so needed as we rebuild post-COVID. Even though we have been in existence for 24 years, our students who form our client base always eventually head off to college or into the workforce. Sharing our program opportunities and welcoming new musicians, artists, dancers, and actors is a consistent practice. With our return to live performance in November of this year, we are once again able to offer every component of our program to our students, and we will be using this funding to recruit new students to join the fund. And if you're interested to know more about Infinity, give them a call at 716-664-0991. And you guys know I love Infinity. I'm high on Infinity. I support Infinity all the way. And if you know a young person that is a budding whatever artist, musician, actor, dancer, check into Infinity. And they deal with students from all over the region, not just Chautauqua County. So don't let that be a hindrance. All right. Moving ahead, I'm really going as fast as I can because I've got a lot to share today. Christmas in the Village, Westfield. Okay, so Ripley is December 10. Next week, Christmas in the Village. Holy cow. All right. They're going to have a whole bunch of stuff going on, and the village is elaborately being decorated as we speak. Window decorating contest is already in the works, and you can get to vote for the best window. See here. So, I'm trying to hear. Okay, Friday the 18th only. Okay, I do the best I can to go through this. There's going to be Children's Night at the Patterson Library from 5 to 6. They're going to have craft stories in the Hall of Trees. 6:15, carolers sing in Moore Park. 6:30, Santa comes to town, lights the tree in Moore, visits and pictures with Santa, treats at gazebo, courtesy of the YWCA. The next day, Saturday, attractions, hot toddy crawl from 11 to 4. Participating shops and restaurants offer complimentary hot and cold beverages and treats. Hall of Christmas from 10 to 4. Local author, artisans, and purveyors of fine merchandise. Food all at Easton Hall. So that's the Hall of Christmas. I actually played there one year. I did music. That was really cool. The whole place was just full of cool stuff. Horse-drawn carriage rides from 11 to 4 starting at Easton Hall. Free. Oh Holy Night, 10 to 4, YWCA, a collection of over 70 mangers. How cool is that? Let's see here. Hang on a minute. I got to see what this is now. All right, the important thing to also remember is that we here are going to be covering the parade. And I think that starts around 5 o'clock. Here it is. And hang on one second. I'm just seeing. There's some other things, but let me get back to that parade in a second. Also, there's going to be Patterson Library is going to have. Okay, Patterson Library from 10 to 2 is going to have the hall. I said that already. Grape Discovery Center is open from 11 to 5, Thursday through Sunday. Educational exhibits and displays of grape industry, wine tasting, gift shop, and a whole bunch of other stuff going on. Lakeshore Center for the Arts from 11 to 4 will have hot toddies. Brenda Eno Art Gallery features grapes. Todd Tanner's Finger Lakes Photography, artwork by Esther Knappenberger and Eleanor Maris. All right, here we go. Now I'm caught up. Kind of written, kind of odd. 5 o'clock, Let There Be Light Christmas Theme Parade begins at the Westfield Academy Central School, travels down Main, lights galore, floats, vehicles, walkers, handouts, choral and instrumental music, all welcome. But must decorate or must carry lights, and there's prizes given out. And this parade is being sponsored by Grace and Abe's Brew Pub. And that's going to be 5 o'clock down the main road, Main Street. And Access Chautauqua will be there. Rick Mascaro, my good buddy, and I will be hosting the show and narrating it and providing all kinds of very witty things to say, and it'll be a lot of fun. Also on Sunday, hang on a minute, I believe there's a hot tea from 11 to 2 that will clear mansion. It's not divided out here. They're going to have sweets and much more. Tickets are $15 by the Historical Society. Hope for Holidays, a pause for reflection, inspiration, encouragement, and Easton Hall that day, musical prelude, 1:15, program times, and so forth. So there's a lot going on. There's going to be a Christmas movie marathon on Sunday, also from 2 to 6 at the Lakeshore Center for the Arts. The Holly Tour will be going on from 12:30 to 5 on Sunday, and that's sponsored by the Westfield Women's Organization. Tickets are $10. Okay. Pre-sale, $15 at the door. And that's always a lot of fun. Assembly of God, and they're going to have a concert in the sanctuary from 1 to 4. So, guys, Westfield is going to be exploding that next Saturday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. It's going to be a lot of fun. All right, we move on. Let's see here. What else do I have? This looks like a repeat. This is a repeat. Oh, that's where my confusion is. All right. Real quick. Okay, then I got another announcement. The Northwest Arena prepares for its next chapter as it approaches 20 years of programming, Jamestown, New York. The Arena is a nonprofit organization founded in 2002 and is an economic development initiative for downtown Jamestown. So basically what they're doing is they're going to have an open house November 16th. From 5 to 7 at the Northwest Arena. They're going to have lots of things going on, and they are coming out of the pandemic like everybody else, and they do all kinds of fun activities there, so they just wanted you to know they're going to be 20 years old. Then a note from the Chamber of Commerce. Thanksgiving is approaching, and many local companies may be thinking about what to give their hard-working employees this season. Fortunately, the Chautauqua County Chamber of Commerce has you covered. The Shop Local CHQ gift card makes a great gift, and they can simplify your holiday bonus giving with a simple call or email to their office. All right, you can get these cards. They're gift cards, but you can be using these at something like 150 different places here in Chautauqua County. The cards can go from $5 up to $500. Okay, and so. It's a great idea, and of course, they're encouraging you to shop local. And finally, Mayville Area Holiday Open House is this weekend as we speak. So yesterday's already happened, but today and next weekend, Friday, Saturday, these 2 Fridays and Saturdays, you can visit participating local merchants and pick up a special punch card. Get your card punched at each participating business and drop it off at your last stop to enter to win prizes donated by each participating business. 34 local businesses, 34, wow, are taking part in the Mayville, Chautauqua, and DeWittville areas. For a full list of participants, you can find this event on Facebook through the Mayville Chautauqua Community Chamber of Commerce, and the map and so forth. I've run out of air. I'm going to take a break. We'll be right back. Stay tuned.
It's a short ride from your neighborhood to your naturehood. To find a neighborhood park or green space near you, visit discovertheforest.org.
And we're back. Thanks for sticking around. I want to welcome back who's been on the show a number of times now. You're going to be a regular here, and I really like it a lot. Michelle Henry, who's our very own Chautauqua County historian. That's a pretty cool title.
It is.
Chautauqua County historian. How long have you been doing that gig?
Since 2000.
22 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I know you have a degree in archaeology.
Right. A master's degree in anthropology and museum studies.
How many? I only know like 2 people that even have that degree. That is way cool.
Oh, it was so much fun. I loved everything I learned and studied. But then along the way, I took a lot of history classes, and there's a lot of similarities and associations between history and anthropology. So you know, nobody's path is a straight path, right? You end
Oh,
up
good
at-
Lord, no. So on the break, we were talking that I guess I misread or misspoke on the holiday tea at the McClurg. So why don't you give me an updated, corrected announcement on
Yeah,
that?
no, I just wanted to let folks know that the tea is on Saturday,
Saturday,
from
not
11
Sunday.
to 2 at the McClurg Museum. The museum will be decorated for the holidays. It always looks lovely.
Oh, yeah.
And all homemade sandwiches, scones, and desserts. And I don't think you need a reservation. You can just come, and they seat you throughout the downstairs. It's just beautiful, and so it's a wonderful chance.
There's a cost.
It's $15. It's a benefit for the museum.
Right.
So definitely worth the
I
$15.
think I've been announcing that almost every year, other than the pandemic years.
Right.
So-
I think this is our 4th year, and it's grown every year. And all the food you can eat, and tea, and it's just a nice opportunity.
Now, if I'm not mistaken, people dress up in period dress that are there?
Well,
Some people do. I've seen pictures.
yeah, there's carolers that come through, and other folks in town who are dressed up, but the servers are generally, not dressed, and it's hard enough to serve.
So I don't have to come in tails.
You don't have to.
Well, I've been associated with the McClurg for a number of years for your annual fundraiser, and I've played there many times. And if you haven't been to the McClurg, it is just an awesome, awesome building and just full of history. So, and that's what we're going to talk about today. So you told me you had this really cool topic that you wanted to talk about. So
Well, I thought because we just had an election.
election? Did we have an election? You can't get away from that.
And we had some, folks in the county, some women who were, really at the forefront of getting women the right to vote. And then as soon as women did get the right to vote in New York State, which was in 1918, several women ran for public office for the first time, and they won. And I think it's really remarkable that as soon as folks were able to hold those offices and to vote, they put themselves up there as candidates.
All right, this
And-
might seem like a naive question, but prior to 1918, I know women couldn't vote, but they also couldn't hold office. I mean, that went hand in hand together?
Right. So, right. I mean, you.
I mean, I know that seems like an odd question, but I mean,
In 1880, women in New York State earned the right to vote and serve on school boards. But-
1980?
1880.
Oh, 1880.
Yeah, on school boards. So there were women who were able to serve on school boards, and it seems kind of funny, not funny, but ironic that women, were responsible for raising children, but they couldn't have any say in who actually wasn't responsible for their education.
Yeah.
So we had a very active political equality movement in Chautauqua County, and the largest club in the nation at one point. So women here, and over the years, people have questioned how, being a rural county, we had such an active group of people, men and women, who were so, such advocates for.
Why was that? Was that because
Well,
of Chautauqua? I mean, I would think that would have fed into that somewhat.
Well, I think some folks who have done a lot more research on it than myself have kind of drawn the conclusion that the Grange, which started here,
Yes.
may have had a lot to do with it, because the Grange was always very egalitarian, and women could hold, the highest ranking offices in the Grange. And Grange, the Grange was a farming and agricultural fraternal organization, and really, I think there's no other place that probably demonstrates the partnership between a man and a woman than running a farm, a family farm. So rural women who were farming women worked just as hard as their husbands to make sure their farm was successful, and I think their husbands realized that as well. And so, they talked about the fact that no farm could function without the work that a woman did alongside her husband.
Here's something you don't know. I bet you don't know this. I was honored by the Grange one year as a Person of the Year. I actually have a wonderful certificate and a very nice prize or little memoir in my office from the Grange. So great people. And I can't prove this, but I can tell you this much. I would say that a lot of what the Grange, as far as how they function, was very similar to the Masons, the Masonic order, and the Eastern Stars, as far as the titles that they have like master of the, like a lodge. It's a lodge. And I, being a Mason, when I sat there and went through their opening ceremonies and so forth, it was very, very similar in some respects. So I think there's a connection there, but I'd have to research that myself further.
Yeah, the Grange, was started after the Civil War, recognizing the fact that we need to help the South rebuild. And of course, the South wasn't really very receptive to Northerners coming down and telling them how to help, or trying to help. And so the Grange realized that our common bond was agriculture. So the Grange really started here. It started in Fredonia.
Yeah, I was going to say, Grange Lodge number 1
is in Fredonia, and it was really out of this desire to help rebuild the agricultural economy of the South.
Yeah.
So
Good
I
stuff.
have a great quote that I just wanted to read that was from a woman named Carrie Twing, who was from Westfield, and in 1894, talking about women, trying to earn the right to vote. She said, "We believe in married hands, married heads, married hearts, and married interests. The women of the farm want to be equal, nothing more. They wish to respect their husbands enough to feel that they would not do so foolish a thing as to marry their inferior." It was a great statement.
Yeah, right on.
So, so I think that those farm women realized that they were just as important.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And so in 1918, women were given the right to vote, and we had a woman, Ellen Yates at the time, run for the position of county clerk. So New York State had never had a female county clerk anywhere in the state. She was from Jamestown, and she got the nomination from the Republican Party, and she was elected.
Really?
So the very first woman.
What year was that?
1918.
Right out of the chute.
Yeah. So the very first woman in New York State to ever be elected county clerk was here in Chautauqua County.
Cool.
And she served at that time. The terms were 3 years, not 4, and she served 8 terms.
Wow.
And only had an opponent once. And unfortunately, she died in office, so she didn't get to,
finish her
retire or
term.
whatever.
Yeah.
Right. So, I think she only had an opponent once. She was, well respected. She did a great job. She helped form the State Clerks Association, and she served as an officer in that association throughout most of her term. So, what a testament to what she was able to do. Another woman who was elected that same time was as the first female justice of the peace in New York State. And that was a woman named Gertrude Williams from Kennedy.
What?
So
From Kennedy?
From Kennedy.
Not to slam Kennedy, but I mean, wow.
Well, that's why, I think people think that, these smaller communities or rural communities were not as progressive.
Right.
And I don't think that's how people perceived it at the time.
So Gertrude is from Kennedy, New York, and this is 1918 as well? Or?
Yes, so she was the first female JP. The city of Jamestown elected their first female city clerk, and that was Mary Barger. So, women, boy, as soon as they were able to, they jumped right on to the ballots. They became, active in politics, and, were very capable of holding those offices.
I'll date myself here. Back in the 70s, women's lib was a big, huge movement, and I was very supportive of it. And there were those that were not supportive of it. And it just blows my mind. Here we are, 50 years later, and we're marveling at the fact that these women got elected. I mean, it's like, oh yeah, but it was a tough time back then. I mean, they couldn't break, as they say, with that glass ceiling to get through there.
Right. So, they fought from the 1840s to get that right. So, it was such a long, prolonged fight to get just, equal representation.
Well, some of these women were jailed.
Oh, right, yeah.
For parading and for protesting and trying to get.
Yeah, the first protesters ever outside the White House, the first people with picket signs,
right.
were suffragists. So I just think that's really interesting, that they started a trend.
They haven't stopped since.
That's right.
So wow.
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah. So and then even farther back than that, the very first woman in New York State to be admitted to the bar was from Chautauqua County.
Really?
So her name was Kate Stoneman, and she was from Bust-Eye. She left here to attend the Albany Normal School because, really teaching was one of the few professions a woman could have back then. And to support herself in Albany, she got a job as a copyist in a court office.
Right.
So, there again, we think about how times have changed. There were no Xerox machines, no ways to copy. So documents that needed to be duplicated for distribution had to be hand copied.
It's the old Ebenezer Scrooge days where, his Bob, what's his face? He's copying everything. Cratchit. Yeah. He's writing all the things down.
Yeah.
He's scribing.
So growing up here in Lakewood, they didn't have a lot of reading material. One of the books they had in their family library was law book. So she had read it just because there wasn't much else to read, and then got a job as a copyist. And she was one of the women in Albany who was working very hard to get the right to vote in school elections in 1880. So she kind of got to know the ins and outs of government and politics. And then she decided to take the bar exam, and women weren't generally allowed to, but they let her because they assumed she wouldn't pass.
They figured she was going to flunk out.
Yeah, so she took the bar exam without ever having been to law school, and she passed.
Well, good on her. Wow.
Well, but what do they do now?
Yeah.
So there was like a 3-panel review, and the panel.
She must have cheated. It must have, conspiracy theory here.
The panel decided that she would not be admitted.
Really?
Because there was no precedent, and there was no need, because who would ever hire a woman to represent them as an attorney?
Gosh.
So the way the New York State Constitution language read was that any man who passed the bar would be admitted. Well, she wasn't a man. So because she had kind of learned the ins and outs of how government worked, she drafted legislation to change the language. And in 1886, that change was accepted and passed into law, and she was admitted to the bar.
Unbelievable.
So
let's see, I'm counting here now. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 women so far, I think you mentioned, came from Chautauqua County.
Right, and really, set the standard for what women were capable of doing.
Let me jump in for a second. I'm a historian in training, I guess. I guess I'm getting there. But I think what I've learned a lot about Chautauqua County and being the town historian in Ripley is that people always thought, or they think, that our part of the world was like backwater America. But when I've looked at the records, many of the people that came to Chautauqua County were coming in from like Connecticut, from Boston, from the St. Lawrence River Valley. They were coming in from Europe and so forth into our area, and they were educated people, and they were pretty smart. And that, for instance, the Prendergasts, they were in Ripley and they were in Jamestown. They were all related, and the Marvins, and there were all the connections of all these families. And our area, especially here in Mayville, Ripley, Westfield, it was a real hub for good intellectual work. And I'm very impressed.
Well, I think that's it. I think, unfortunately, kids or people nowadays don't think anything interesting or important ever happened here. And I think that that's a real shame that we don't do a better job of letting people know about the really important movements and people who had a connection to Chautauqua County. That goes back to, Lincoln's, because of Fenton and William Seward, and the formation of the Republican Party platform.
That was in Westfield, right?
Or
part of it anyways.
Mayville, they claim to have been having some secret meetings in Mayville. Yeah. And then these same men, Horace Greeley included, helped to start the Westfield Republican newspaper. So, those were, key people who went on to have national, importance.
Yeah.
And, we just unfortunately don't seem to get recognized for that.
Yeah, I mean, the small towns, they hit hard times probably at different points, and the bigger cities were sucking a lot of the energy out, and but they don't realize that. I think to your point is that these small towns were what was pushing the agenda in those days, and very strongly and very involved. Especially, I'm still marveling about the Kennedy one, only because I don't know how many people lived in Kennedy at that time, but maybe it wasn't even half the size of what it is today. But the point that she was able to step up and get elected, that was way, way, way cool.
Right, and it's an interesting time period as well because World War I was going
Yeah.
on, so, and also the Spanish flu. So it was a tumultuous
Yeah, I
time,
hadn't thought of that, yeah.
and so I like to try to put things in a broader perspective, and you think, well, perhaps there were some other things at play that let women move into these areas,
Yeah, there was a void there.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
But
Wow. Very, very cool. So, so as we stand now, we've had the first female elected governor in New York State. That's another one for your list.
right.
And
Right.
the first, was Hochul the first lieutenant governor to be elected female?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know any others. So,
Right.
yeah.
Right,
Okay.
and it's interesting too. The science of the time period said that women were completely unfit for this type of work. Like the medical professionals in the late 1800s said that women were not capable of studying more advanced subjects like science and math, and they actually truly, it was commonly accepted that a woman would become sterile if she studied those because she just, her body wasn't capable of it. So
I'm trying to find the right word to express my astonishment. What?
And so
Sterile to think?
they actually claimed that it would be the downfall of society if they allowed women to get politically active because they would no longer be bearing children and our society would collapse. There was a medical doctor, as in the late 1800s, as amusement parks became more popular, and there were some roller coasters that were pretty high speed, and they determined that if a woman rode a roller coaster that went more than 50 miles per hour, her uterus would fall out. So the
Okay, I got nothing on that one. What?
So
obviously they had evidence of this. There's all these uteruses. Oh my God.
So the obstacles that women faced at the time, there was
Yeah.
scientific
How do you
proof
break all that?
that
break
it
through
just
stuff?
wasn't
Medically
in
unfit.
society's interest to have them move into these fields.
Oh my gosh.
So, which I think also just makes you respect them that much more.
Oh my gosh, yes. Well, and wow. But the thing I've also noticed is that this isn't just sometimes just here in the United States, but it starts in Europe. Sometimes it comes this way, or starts in America and goes to Europe. So sometimes it's almost like a planetary movement, not just United States, or it's a bigger movement, and sometimes it's behind political, sometimes it's medical, sometimes it's religious. There's these undercurrents that affect some of these things. But wow, yeah, I mean, talk about conspiracy theories. Jeez, I never heard that one about the roller coaster.
Yeah, well, I guess that's what I think is so fascinating about history is you kind of put pieces of lots of different studies together to try to tell your local story. And just recently we've been doing some work with the some records that we found from Newton Memorial Hospital, which was a tuberculosis hospital. So it kind of led me to feel like I needed to understand more about tuberculosis. Mm-hmm. And before they knew it was contagious, the treatments were, they were just really just trying, fresh air, cold air, but then once they realized it was contagious, then they realized, that they had to stop men from spitting on the sidewalks, spitting on the street. And at the time, women were expected to have skirts that went to the ground,
yeah,
you know,
it's
because
picking
you
up
weren't
the
supposed to
germs.
show your ankles.
Right.
But then, so their skirts were, you know, dragging
Mm-hmm.
on the sidewalk, picking up this saliva from men spitting, and so it was like you know, it's what allowed women's skirts to be raised a little bit. It was a hygiene issue, you know, to help stop
Michelle, you bring in these details that I just never knew. Well,
to
now
stop
I know.
spread the spread of tuberculosis. You know, so that's when
common sense stuff. Yeah.
So that's when you see a lot of cities have anti-spitting laws go on the books. You know, you start seeing spittoons everywhere.
Yeah.
Women's skirts go up a little bit because, you know, suddenly they realized it was spread through those means. So, and I just think that's why history is interesting, because it touches on so many things: fashion and science and politics.
So the other day in the mail, I got my Timelines newsletter from the Chautauqua County Historical Society, and right in the front, you have your article called "Ripley Was Once a Gateway to Quick Marriages." Did they stay married? What were the? We should do the research on that one. So I'm pretty familiar with this, but maybe you could tell a little bit of the story, because then I have a backstory to your story. But there was something called the Gretna Green, and so forth. So why was Ripley, and what was the time frame? I think it was back in
1886.
Yeah, and then it was like 1937 or something like that.
Right. So Pennsylvania and Ohio both passed laws that required a waiting period between getting a marriage application and being able to get married.
Okay, and the reason for that is make sure mom and dad found out.
And to make sure that it wasn't a spur of the moment issue. So people from Ohio and Pennsylvania, you know, who didn't want to wait, realized they could come to New York State, who had no waiting. We had no waiting period, and in the 1880s, you know, there were trains and trolleys that ran along the shoreline, lake shoreline, and the very first spot in New York State was Ripley.
So for $1.50 on the old train, you could get to Ripley.
So you could ride to Ripley, go to the clerk, get your license, find a JP or a minister, get married, and be home by dinner time.
One-stop shop.
So Ripley quickly became this destination for people who wanted to get married quickly, perhaps quietly, perhaps, you know, without knowledge of anybody who might try to prevent them from getting married. And so it's fascinating, because Ripley is quite rural, you know, small population, and yet the number of marriage licenses that were being
outweighed
issued,
the population. Thousands of people.
Yes.
Now, in your article, you mentioned that one of the justices of the peace had so many marriages that he was the only one that had a car in town or something.
Right. Yeah, I had read some of Marie McCutcheon's files, and she was such a wonderful historian in Ripley.
She's my hero.
Yes, absolutely. She was a great writer and a great researcher, and she said that. And she talked, you know, she obviously was a few generations older than us, and she talked to some of the folks who had, you know, been around at that time period. And one of the JPs worked pretty much around the clock and made enough money that he could afford a new car during the Depression.
Okay, and here's a little note that I actually talked to somebody that was one of the young men that the JP would call in the middle of the night, and he got 50 cents. It was Bob Slocum. And he told me that he would get a call at any time, and he had to come over and be the witness. And so he lived down the street from the Justice of the Peace, and he said that he was a witness to many of the marriages. And I think in one given year, there was 3,000 or some crazy, like, huge number.
Yeah.
So you then, in the article, you have a picture of an interesting couple. So before, we don't want to show the picture yet, Jeff. Just hang on. But let's do the backstory on that a little bit. You start it, and I'll tell you what I know about it too.
There again, it's thanks to Marie's files that I was able to find it. A couple showed up in the wee hours of the morning, and the man was over 8 feet tall.
8'4".
And his the woman he intended to marry was under 3 feet tall.
Right, 2.5 feet tall.
And they were circus performers who had decided to sneak out and get married on the quick in Ripley. And it's really, just an interesting story. They went back and they continued with the circus. I think, both of them had sort of troubled upbringings, and they, found a common spirit in each other, and so they stayed married for the rest of their lives. He died kind of young, but they adopted a couple children, had a long life, retired.
Okay, so the rest of the story. So whenever you guys post these things, I go, I got to know the backstory. So I did find out more about this. So her name was Bernice Evelyn Jeannie Smith, and his name, I'll just do the short version, Tomanini or Tomani. I can't. It's an Italian name, anyways. He was 8'4", and he had a condition, giantism, or I'll call it, and he was trying to stop it through medications and that. Well, then ended up as you said, a sideshow, and was feeling kind of weird about it and wasn't quite sure how to handle the freak shows and all that. And so he meets this Bernice, who was a young girl that was born without legs, and her hands were also deformed to a certain degree. And so she was, like you said, like 2.5 or something like that, teeny tiny. And they became friends, and she was helping him to transition into this world of the freaks.
Yeah.
And they fell in love. But here's the backstory that I don't know if you knew about. When Bernice was quite young, 3 years old, her parents realized, we can make some money at this. So they got her involved in the sideshows. So she would do little acrobatic things and headstands and that sort of thing, and toured around the country, whatever. But at some point, I think it was in her teens, like she was 15, she gets adopted by the Weeks.
Oh.
Weeks. And the woman that is her adopted mother was very cruel. And mistreated her, kept her locked up in her room when she wasn't performing, all that sort of thing. And so somewhere along the line, then she gets older and she meets Al and they get married. So where was I going with this? So I thought, well, all right, can I actually determine that they were married in Ripley? Because I always like to find the real documents. So I went down and I talked to the town clerk, Becky Carvella, and I said, Becky, can you show me the 1936 wedding marriage certificates? And according to the research, they were married on September 8th, 1936. So we opened the book, and there's nothing. And I go like, no, Michelle knows. Marie McCutcheon would have known. So I said, I'll be back. So then I went to more research, and as town historians, as yourself, we use lots of different sources. Found out it was September 28th, 1936. So there's 2 different volumes. There was early part of the year, and then the next half of September was in another volume. We pulled that out, and sure enough, we found Elle's name, but then we see Bernice Weeks. They're going, what's that all about? And that's when I found out that she had been adopted, and her father's name on the certificate was Eugene Weeks, which was her adopted father, but her natural mother was Mary Smith. So anyway, interesting. So what happened? Basically, they got married in Ripley. They went, just as you said, they were married for a number of years. They adopted 4 girls. And I actually found a video with the one daughter and said, our life was pretty normal, except on Sundays when everybody would come to their house because after they were done with the freak show, they actually built and owned like a campground called Giant Campground or something, the Giants Campground. And she said the bearded woman would be there, the fat lady would be there, the 3-legged man would be there, and it was just a total just circus every weekend, and they had a really cool life. He died at 50, and then she died in 1999, so she was like in her 80s, and she had a little cart and she'd get around, but no legs whatsoever. But she said she cooked for the kids and everything else. So not that she was from Ripley by any means, but they lived in Florida, in their later years. but just a cool connection. Something here in our own hometown in Ripley, with this marriage situation called Greta. Oh yes, now the picture. Thanks, Jeff. And so there they are. And that's just one that I found. And you had another one I think at the Freak Show, but he was 8'4", 345 pounds or something like that. And there she is, and yeah, very normal. And there was actually a video online that she was giving the history of, and she was perfectly normal, except no legs. So that happens. But anyways, kind of an interesting little story from Chautauqua County.
That's right. And I guess we should say Gretna Green was actually a town in Scotland where folks from England could go and avoid the waiting period and age limitations. So that's how Ripley kind of got the name Gretna Green. It kind of became a default name for all of these marrying towns. So
now the ages in those days, you could get married at a much younger age, right?
Well, in Scotland, a boy age 14 and a girl age 12 could get married without parental consent. And I don't think the ages were ever that low here. Thank goodness.
Yeah. But they didn't have to have any proof. They didn't have any blood tests. They didn't have anything in those days. They just showed up. They said, "I'm old enough. And marry us." Bang.
Well, and that was, I guess, the issue that you didn't really, if you chose not to state whether you were currently married,
yeah, that was tough.
Or divorced. And one of the justices, if somebody did admit to having been divorced, he refused to marry them because at the time, the guilty party of a divorce was usually prohibited from remarrying. So he chose not to marry those folks. But
so, as a county historian, what other projects are you working on these days? We've about 3 minutes left here, 2.5 minutes. So what else is going on?
Well, I've been helping Jim Kurtz out a little bit with his project, and we're working on those Newton Memorial records. We're trying to get those indexed.
Where was this located? The Newton Memorial.
It was in Cassadaga. It's where the Job Corps.
Yes, I know where that is. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was built in about 1920. The money was given by Elizabeth Newton, who lost her husband and her son to tuberculosis. And then, so she really was, affected by the disease. And so at the time, lots of counties were building facilities. And that cold air treatment, up on the hill in Cassadaga in the winter. So the county had a facility until 1958. Wow. So, we didn't have a lot of records of who was there. And occasionally, we would get requests from people wanting to know if a relative had been there, and we recently found some on microfilm. So we're trying to get those indexed so that we can at least let people know.
So people watching right now, what can you do for them as far as any information? I mean, it's just general birth and deaths or
well, the vital records are typically at the town clerk's offices. So that's not really what someone might come to the county archives for, but we have civil and criminal court records. The surrogate court is in the courthouse for wills and land records, so I have a research library in my office. So we try to help folks with whatever questions, whether it's about their house or their property, their family history, or subjects like the Grange, military service.
And this is free of charge, right?
Sure, yeah. I mean,
unless they need copies or something.
Right, right. And if somebody comes to visit in person, we'll do whatever we can for them. If they just write to us, we ask for a donation to cover our time and expenses. Lots of naturalization requests. So we have all the naturalization records for the county, and we had a very large population of folks that came, immigrants. And so people now are trying to get dual citizenship, mostly to Italy. And so we have a lot of citizenship papers that get requested.
Okay.
So.
Well, we're just about out of time. Michelle, thoroughly enjoy our talks here. And I'm going to encourage you to come back time and time again because there's so much to know about our county and celebrate our communities and the rich history that we all have. Absolutely. So, folks, you've been watching Chautauqua Sunrise. I'm Doc Hamels. My guest today has been Michelle Henry, the Chautauqua County historian for the whole county, and I know that you work with all the local historians in each of our communities, because by law, each town has to have a historian, right?
Right.
So I hope you enjoyed the show, and always, if you have any questions, you can always email us or give us a call, and this will be on Facebook, this will be on YouTube, wherever and ever if you want to reference it again. So thanks, Michelle. And get out there and enjoy all the fun things that are going on here in Chautauqua County, especially with the holidays that are coming up. We'll see you all next week. We got another fun show in store for you. Take care now. Bye-bye.